Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. We're at episode number 1548, and there was some big news announced on Friday. It's the fact that Kathleen Kennedy's contract with Lucasfilm has been renewed for another 3 years through the year 2021. This is significant on a number of levels, and so, let's talk about what those levels are real quick. First of all, Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney, he had his contract renewed not too long ago. In fact, it was in December of 2017 that news broke. And it was also renewed for 3 years through 2021. So now he and Kathleen Kennedy are on the same track. And there has been talk in the past that if there was anybody who was going to replace Bob Iger as the CEO of Disney, that Kathleen Kennedy was on the short list for it. And so right now, it seems as though the timing of their contracts are lining up rather well. There, I guess, had been some talk about whether Bob Iger might even pursue a presidential bid in 2020, but instead, the extension of his contract with Disney through 2021 suggests that what Disney is really all about is making sure that the current leadership is on hand to steer the Fox deal through all of its regulatory approvals and all that stuff. Supposedly, that's supposed to take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to get handled, and then there's all the settling in that's going to happen after that, and so on and so forth. And so that's Iger's big final act if he actually decides to leave in 2021. The Fox deal will be his crowning achievement, as it were. So anyway, Iger and Kennedy now synced up on their contracts, so that's one very fascinating aspect of this deal. The other, of course, is that if you needed anything like a stamp of approval or a vote of confidence or anything like that in Kathleen Kennedy's performance, then you couldn't do much better than getting your contract renewed for 3 years, because that says, hey, everything's going great under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership and we want her to continue. So everything about the directorial shakeups with Episode 9 and Solo and Rogue One, everything about the performance or comparative lack thereof of Solo: A Star Wars Story at the box office, of the loud reaction from a small group of folks about The Last Jedi, to Bob Iger's recent comments about saying, hey, we kind of need to slow down a little bit on the Star Wars movies, but we're certainly not going to stop making Star Wars movies, and we're still, working on all these things. All of that notwithstanding, the fact that we have a 3-year contract renewal, again, a very strong vote of confidence in Kathleen Kennedy and what she has done at the helm of Lucasfilm. So now this will also make it that it'll be 9 years until her contract expires, at least, and we'll see what happens in 2021. But it does mean that as far as things are going right now, she has been the head of Lucasfilm for 6 years and will be it for another 3. Now, one thing that is mentioned in the article by Boris Kitt, and it's not necessarily attributed, so it's hard to say where he's pulling this from, if it's just general knowledge about what Lucasfilm's plans are, things that have been announced so far. There's reference to the fact that the way forward for Lucasfilm is going to be with new movies and television shows about new characters. So it seems to exclude the idea of movies based on existing characters, at least once Episode 9 is done, that's going to be the end of the chapter saga movies, and that the promotion of Episode 9 is going to lean heavily on that idea. Whether it really is, or whether they're going to wait 10 years like they did with, the prequels, or actually I guess it was 16 with the prequels and then another 10 with the original trilogy, I'm sorry, from the prequels to the sequel movies, I should say. That remains to be seen. I can't imagine them utterly and completely abandoning the saga movies, unless, of course, all the other movies take off and do fabulously well for them. But it seems like, no, they'll probably come back to that well at some point. I think they kind of have to, right? Anyway, we also have referenced in the article by Boris Kitt the fact that Jon Favreau is casting for his Star Wars live-action series, the 10-episode series that's going to debut on Disney's streaming service. And mention is also made of the final season of The Clone Wars appearing on that streaming service too. Not to mention the David Benioff and D.B. Weiss series of movies that is being developed. And there's also reference to Rian Johnson's, though Boris does go on to note that right now Rian Johnson is working on another movie that stars Daniel Craig. So, you know, that whole thing I'm put in mind of something that Ernest Cline, the guy who wrote Ready Player One, said about Steven Spielberg, just about the movie was such, you know, an incredibly difficult thing to do because he was shooting two movies, basically. He was shooting the live action movie and the digital movie, that he went and he did the post with, whoever was in the post. Anyway, he went and did that movie during the post-production of Ready Player One just to kind of cleanse the palate. And so you could say in a way that Rian Johnson may be cleansing the palate by working on a smaller movie with Daniel Craig before he really gets cranking on the new trilogy that he's working on for Lucasfilm. Oh, and let's not forget, there's an Indiana Jones 5 in development as well with Lucasfilm, and that movie was postponed a year due to script issues. So yeah, even with that, again, Kennedy's extension seems to be a very big vote of confidence. And there's one other thing, too, that also lines up very well with this being a great vote of confidence, and I will share that with you after the break and a quick word from our friends at Nissan. So stay tuned. Hey Rebel Rouser, I want to see your Solo, a Star Wars story-inspired custom designs of Nissan Titans and Altimas and Rogues. Check out sw7x7.com/custom to make your own designs, share them on social media, and tag us so that we can check them out. I've already done a Falcon and a Convex Transport and a Cloud Rider swoop bike. I'm going to do a couple more. Check it out at sw7x7.com/custom and make your own with Nissan's fun Best in the Galaxy customizer tool. And hey, don't forget Solo, a Star Wars story is out on digital, Blu-ray, and new on 4K Ultra HD as well. Welcome back. So here's the last bit of news that you can compare the Kathleen Kennedy extension to. So Kevin Feige, who is the president of Marvel Studios, his contract is supposed to be up sometime in 2018. And I went and I did some digging about this. I can't find a really, solid source that I like for sure, but from what I'm seeing so far online, it looks like his last contract extension was in 2015. So last time he had an extension, it was in 2015 and it was extended through 2018. That's something that he reported in an interview, that his contract ends in 2018. So straight from the horse's mouth in that case. So his last contract extension was 3 years, and that's what Kennedy got too. So again, that seems like another vote of confidence, especially compared to, how well Kevin Feige and the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies have been doing. I mean, yeah, that's another very good sign that Disney is happy with the work that Kathleen Kennedy is putting in her stewardship of Lucasfilm now that we are in the post-George Lucas era. And that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me for it, and I hope you will be subscribing to these shows wherever you happen to like to catch it, so that way you get the episode delivered to you without you even having to think about it. And I hope you'll consider supporting the show via Patreon as well at patreon.com/SW7x7. For now, though, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for watching, for listening, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2018 Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.